Hey y'all, Jeff Nowak here, WWL Digital Sports producer. Sitting here at the Superdome. It's quiet. A few hours after the Saints took down the Bucs 36-27. I think I got that score right in week 8. It's a happy finish. Not so happy how they got there, which was Jameis Winston went down with what appeared to be a significant knee injury. Um, in the second quarter. Trevor Siemian took over, did fine, did a good job, got bogged down a little bit in the second quarter, or you know, during the third quarter, and but did just enough. Saints pulled it out. PJ Williams came up clutch at the end. But there's going to be a lot of questions about this team before they can, you know, be put back into the contender status, assuming Jameis's injury is as it appears to be immediately after the game. You never know. There's obviously things that change, but generally speaking, Sean Payton does not volunteer information on injuries after games. He did in this one. Said, quote unquote, he believes it is a significant injury. He said he cried when he saw him in the locker room after the game, and you can take what you want from that. You can infer whatever you need to, but it does not sound positive. It does not sound optimistic. Make sure y'all throw a comment in the chat. Make sure you ask questions, throw me your hot takes, predictions for the rest of the season, your favorite gumbo recipe, whatever. Throw in the comments. I'll try to answer them. We'll go from there. This was not a pretty game. Offense for the Saints, they did just enough. They survived, and that's what you've had all season, and I think that's what you'll continue to get. Will Trevor Siemian continue to be the quarterback? That's going to be the question. Even if Jameis, his injury, does not keep him out the rest of the year, it's very unlikely the guy shows up in air cast and with crutches that he plays the next week. Very unlikely. So one way or another, I think you're going to have to make a decision on the quarterback. And the question is going to be, is Trevor Siemian the guy who you think is going to be able to keep the ship afloat? Or do you make a change? Taysom Hill is going to be an option there. His health is a question. He's recovering from a concussion. He's missed the last 2 games. So you have to decide one way or another if you think he's going to be available next week. And then you can make that decision. If you don't think he's going to be available, then the decision is different. You're not deciding between Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian. You're deciding between Trevor Siemian and whoever else you have. One of those guys is rookie Ian Book. Do you have more faith in Ian Book showing up and leading the Saints offense than you do in Trevor Siemian? I don't know, but it's going to be a question that we figure out throughout the week. They kept Ian Book on the roster. They drafted him in the 4th round for a reason. I would be stunned if he's not at least active next week. Whether he starts, I would be surprised to see that, but I will be stunned if he's not active. I think what you saw from Trevor Siemian today is about what you can expect to see from Trevor Siemian going forward. He's not going to wow you with his arm, although he does sling a very pretty ball. I mentioned a few times in camp that it felt like Trevor Siemian actually threw the best ball out of all of the quarterbacks that they had there. That doesn't mean he's the best quarterback. It just means that he just has this effortless release and just the ball just pops out of his hand. He doesn't look like he's even trying. He's just chucking it 40 yards down the field, and that's part of the reason he was a starting quarterback in the NFL. He was I couldn't tell you where he got drafted, but he was out of Northwestern, and people had a lot of confidence in Trevor Siemian after his first couple of years for a reason. He's a solid player. The question is to see the guy that you're going to turn to try to get you through the rest of the season, try to navigate some of the pitfalls that come along with being his quarterback in a very difficult division, facing very difficult matchups every week. I don't know. He had the mettle to get through today. I was not confident until that third drive of the third quarter. The Bucs did everything they could to help him out. I think at least he had at least 2 penalties to extend drives on the touchdown drive that ended in the Alex score before halftime, and then on the final drive where Brian Johnson kicked the go-ahead field goal. The Bucs just shot themselves in the foot, and you got to give Trevor Siemian credit. He took advantage of those situations, but I don't think that he did anything that makes you be like, man, this is the guy, right? Um, 5 in advance. That's what I always say. The Saints won this game. They're not going to complain about the way they won it. But I think if you're looking at the rest of the season without Jameis Winston, it's either got to be Taysom Hill your guy, or you're figuring it out. The trade deadline is coming up. If you are going to make a move, you have to do it soon. Someone like Mitch Trubisky is out there. Um, you know, Cam Newton is still out there. Just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Cam Newton is out there. He could be an option. That would be one heck of a twist if Cam Newton ends up being the guy. But it's really a shame. It's a shame for Jameis. It's a shame for the Saints. It's a shame for the story that we were getting kind of unfolding here in front of our eyes, which would have been I mean, I assume this game would have gone the same way if Jameis Winston had finished it out. Who knows what would happen? But the story we had unfolding here was pretty incredible. And the Jameis Winston experience was going to put us a half game out of the NFC South lead, or put the Saints a half game out of the NFC South lead, going toe to toe with his former team. And instead, we have this kind of March season. The Saints have been as good as any team in the NFL at overcoming quarterback injuries. What they haven't had to do is overcome a quarterback injury that was not a 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 week thing. There was always a timetable for a guy coming back if, this is an ACL injury, as it's been reported to have been. That's season ending in most cases. So that's something we have not seen the Saints have to overcome. I think they can. I mean, I think today showed just as well as any other of the games could look at how well the Saints do under those circumstances. Nobody quits. They feel sorry for themselves. PJ Williams, I mean, this is a guy who has been asked to do whatever. He's the Taysom Hill of defense, right? He was a cornerback, now he's a safety, now he's a nickelback, now he's whatever. He gets the biggest play of the game. These are the type of things that the Saints defenders, the Saints team, the Saints roster does. They're committed. They understand what it takes to win. Winning is an art form, and they have mastered it. But you need the quarterback. You need the quarterback to play well. You need the quarterback to understand the goals, understand the mission, and that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think what this could do is give us an opportunity to see Taysom Hill, which is good for him. He's another guy who's done everything. He's been selfless. Hopefully he's able to get back. It really was a shame that we get in this situation and we don't get to see, okay, well, as tough as it is to see Jameis go down, there's a reason that the Saints are confident in Taysom Hill. Now we get to see it. Hopefully Taysom is able to come back and you kind of get half this. It kind of works out the way that fate would have it, in that the Jameis, once he gets the first half of the season or close to it, Taysom Hill gets the second half of the season. But we'll see what happens. Let's get to some questions here. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that I think Cam Newton is the answer. I'm just saying, if you have to figure something out, if you think Trevor Siemian is the guy, you don't, one way or another, Cam Newton is a guy that's out there. I could have said Colin Kaepernick. He's another guy that's out there. I don't think that he's a guy you bring in mid-season just because he's been out of the league for so long. But you got to look around, see what's there, and if I had to choose between Cam or Mitch Trubisky, I'd go with Cam Newton. But again, I think that Taysom Hill has to be the option, assuming he's healthy, and we'll see what happens. We don't know this. I want to be clear. I don't know that he's done for the season. Nobody can say that at this point. I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves here. When the Sean Payton injury is significant, to me that means it's significant, because this is a guy who usually will not talk about injuries post game. He just won't do it. So for him to just volunteer that information and to say he cried in the locker room after he saw him, I think that's telling. Hopefully it's all a lot for nothing, right? Hopefully this is much ado for, a bruise, right? There's no way to know until we know. It does not sound good. Let's put it that way. And I think that if you're the Saints, you're preparing to be without Jameis Winston for, at minimum, an extended period of time. This is good. I don't know if this is original. That is funny. Um, if anyone isn't reading that, XLC, Sean Payton asked PJ Williams, what do you want to be for Halloween? PJ said he wanted to be a reporter. Funny, compelling, topical, good. I'm a fan. Let's see, any other questions? There's a few in there. I appreciate y'all chiming in. Why are we arguing about Michael Thomas? I mean, come on. He was here today. Y'all see that? Michael Thomas was on the sideline. He wants to play. What are we talking about here? You think anyone wants Michael Thomas to be on the football field more than Michael Thomas? He wants to be out there. Trust me. I think that he's getting close. The fact that he was here at all today means he's getting close, means he's around the team. And hopefully we see him get back to practice this week, and whoever is the Saints quarterback next week gets the benefit of seeing Michael Thomas out there. Yeah, just keep arguing. Can Drew come out of retirement? I don't think Drew's going to come out of retirement. But, we'll see what happens. Y'all are arguing about stuff. Yay, now we get to see Taysom throw punts. Good one. I still don't understand why there's this negativity around. There's this cult of negativity around Jameis Winston. There's this cult of negativity around Taysom Hill, and these two circles never overlap. And I don't understand why people are rooting for anybody to fail, but there's this like weird dynamic where it's like, okay, you hate Taysom, you hate Jameis, you're all Saints fans. And there's positives, there's negatives. Each does certain things well. Each does certain things not so well. Each is to improve in a certain area of their game. And, the returns on that are differing. But why is there this like just karate no answer whenever anything about one or the other comes up on it? It's very strange to me that there's such a large contingent of people who are rooting for a specific person to not be good because they want the other person to succeed. The team isn't doing that. Why are the fans? It's the strangest dynamic I know about in sports, where you want to be right so badly that you want a player on your favorite team to be bad, to play poorly, so they can justify your take on this particular player. I've never understood it, but this is where we are. Yeah, he doesn't throw a deep ball well. That's definitely true. But there's a reason. But keep in mind, he throws the deep ball on these deep ball sets when he's in that quarterback mode, taking over for a snap or two, right? I think that's what you're talking about. You say throw punts. But that's not how he will operate if he is the starting quarterback, which is not how he operated last year when he was the starting quarterback for 3 games. So I don't know. I think Taysom Hill is a positive thing for this offense. The offense works better when he's there. To make mistakes, sure. Does he make the team better? Absolutely, especially in the red zone. You saw the Saints get stuffed on 4th and 1 today. Mark Ingram can make that situation a little bit better, but that's where you would love to have Taysom, and you don't have him right now. I appreciate that, Ray. I don't know if it's being sarcastic, but I appreciate that. I mean, guys get hurt. What are you gonna do? Guys get hurt. I mean, he's not just sitting there cashing checks and twiddling his thumbs. I mean, he's trying to get back. You can say the off-season situation wasn't handled the way it should have been. I think Mike Thomas wants to be hurt. I don't see what his paycheck has anything to do with his will to be on the field. I mean, I think when he gets back, you're going to be able to make determinations on his play one way or the other. But I don't think that his cash flow has anything to do with it. That's a good question. I would start Taysom. If for no other reason than he's earned the right to to get a shot at that job. I mean, it was never a quarterback battle between Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, and Jameis Winston, right? So if you had already decided it was going to be Jameis or Taysom, and now you get into a situation where Jameis cannot play, just I know the issue isn't whether you're getting fair to one guy or the other, but the fact of the matter is you have made that decision in the preseason. If James had lost the quarterback battle to Taysom Hill would have been the starter. So why would you not go that route now? I think knowing that Trevor Siemian can do what he did tonight is helpful, but I would think that Taysom gets the first run at that job, and he should. I mean, he should. The question is health. If you're not comfortable with his health, then who knows? You know, it was a significant hit he took. Some guys are come back better from concussions than others, and if there's lingering kind of symptoms, he can't even get on the field. That's just how it works. It's a concussion protocol. So, you know, it's about a lot more than that. But I do think that if Taysom Hill is healthy, he got. And the question is, if he's not healthy, and then how do you handle that situation? Do you bring somebody in, as we talked about with Cam Newton, whatever? But it's going to be an interesting week, to say the least, because I think one way or another, you're going to get a quarterback signed for the practice squad. Because, well, I take that back. I think Ian Book is going to get elevated to the active roster, and you're going to see there. I don't think Ian Book's going to get the start, but he's a guy that, you know, Saints had confidence in. They took him in the 4th round, and you just got to see what happens. Yeah, I agree with this. I don't think that if you're going to pull Jameis off the field, it should be Taysom the third deep ball. You know, this is neither here nor there. It's really off topic from what we're talking about. But yeah, I agree with that. But keep in mind, and this is one of the reasons that you benefit from having Taysom Hill at quarterback. He's a threat to run at any given time. He's a threat to power. He's a threat to get outside. He is a threat to do a lot of things. And so the defense has to play a certain way. You're not going to see a lot of cover 2. You're not going to see a lot of deep safeties. You're going to get a lot of cover 0, and that's why you see him come out there and they run a shot play with Deontay Harris one-on-one and see if he can beat him at the top. And the question is, can Taysom get the ball out? And I haven't seen him do that enough to be able to say, yeah, I'm confident this can happen. So I agree with that. And when you end up in a set that people have seen before, it becomes even more difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's a completely different situation when you're talking about Taysom the starter versus Taysom the reliever. The World Series is going on, we can call him a reliever. But yeah. I mean, I'm not sure I understand. I mean, he started 3 games last year. He played fine. He did really well against the Falcons. I'm sorry, 4 games last year. Sorry. He played really well against the Falcons twice. He played poorly against the Broncos in 1. That was a weird game. I don't know what you take away from that, but it was not a quarterback-friendly game. And then he played poorly against the Eagles on the road and lost. Still made a few nice plays. Played poorly. I think overall it was a poor effort and he lost. But, you know, we've seen him play quarterback, be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He was fine. I mean, I have seen bad quarterbacks. We all know what a bad quarterback looks like. Taysom was average. And, you know, average is better than, you know, average is there for a reason. And that's to know if you're below it, then you're probably not a starting quarterback. If you're above it. But if you can be a league average quarterback with a top 10, top 5, I would argue top 1 defense, there are worse things in the world. And I think in terms of being safe with the ball, that's the question. Does he fumble too much? Is he going to be a danger in ball security that makes things more difficult for the defense? Because he was last year. He has not this year. He has not thrown the ball over. Well, that's not true. He threw an interception. I'm talking about fumbles specifically. So, you know, that's the biggest question to me. Is that ball security concern really a concern, or was it just an aberration last year? He just needs to tighten up how he carries the ball, and then you go from there. But, you know, that's going to be a thing down the road. Who knows if he's even going to be healthy? Again, this is a question of, is he back on the field? Because he was not this week, as we know. He didn't get back to practice. And 3 weeks removed, he had a bye week to recover. You know, this is a lingering thing, and there's no guarantee he's out there at all. So you have to make that decision. That's a good question, actually. When I saw Taysom start games last year, one of my biggest criticisms was he doesn't seem able, not willing, just able to incorporate Alvin Kamara into the offense the way he needs to be, just based on his skill set, based on what he can do in the open field. And I don't know if and it's not like a talent issue. It's just a game, just a style of play issue, right? Think about how you would get the ball to Kamara as a check down. That's how he's going to get a lot of his receptions, is as a check down, as okay, going through a progression, it's not there, check it down. Now that's great, and I don't think Taysom Hill is going to get his progression and just say, I'm not going to throw it to Kamara. But one of Taysom Hill's best assets is the ability to go through a read. It's not there, I'm running, right? So his arm on the check down, his accuracy on the check down is not what I would consider his strength. So you are taking away one of his strengths and trying to force a square peg into a round hole and say, okay, you're going to check this down instead. And if you're doing that, then what's the point of Taysom Hill in there, a guy who probably is an accurate check down 7 times out of 10, right? That's just not his forte. Short ball touch is not what he does well. He's a slinger. He's throwing it. And so if you're not getting the ball where it needs to be at that point correctly, and to do that, you are taking away that running ability and forcing him to think too much in the pocket. That was my biggest criticism in the preseason. Was against a guy who is trying to train himself to not be the guy that he is, so that he can fit in the offense. And you kind of just have to embrace what he is. And unfortunately, that does hurt Kamara. Because you're not going to be able to get him the ball in space the way that you want to. You have to kind of design it more than just kind of allow it to happen, and that's not what you want, in my opinion, for that scenario. Right? Mark Ingram makes it a little easier because you can now kind of treat him in the Latavius Murray role, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that Latavius had some of his biggest games playing with Taysom Hill, because that power running style just works better. Look at the Titans. Look at Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, who I would consider to be pretty similar to Taysom Hill as a quarterback, a little better passing wise. A little better touch on the intermediate and deep throws, but it's still tough. We got enough rambling here. Again, I've had a few people commenting, does Jameis come back? No way to know. I'm not going to speculate on a knee injury. All I know is, from what we heard from the players, it does not sound positive. And it sounds to me like they're bracing for being without him for a significant amount of time. So we'll go from there. I think that's it. A lot of questions about Taysom Hill, which I appreciate. A lot of questions about Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas. Great. The good news, whatever happens, the Saints won this game, and it was, I would argue, a must-win game, not in the sense of making playoffs, in the sense of winning the division, in the sense of having a shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC, because that still exists. And the Saints are positioned incredibly well for a team that lost 2 of its first 4 games. No one in the division is better than 7-1. The team that's one of the teams that is 7-1, the Saints have beaten. Another team, the Bucs are 6-2, and the Saints now own the first half of that tiebreaker. They're tied in the loss column. So everything is within their control, except obviously if the Packers never lose another game, which always seems to be the case. Isn't that crazy how every year it seems to be, if the Packers went out, the Saints don't get the 1 seed. It's that way again. We're still early enough that you don't really have to think about that. But that's where we are. And still, for a team that has faced this many challenges, losing your starting quarterback kind of just feels like the next one. And winning today, setting yourself up in the NFC South, a half game out of first with the tiebreaker half there. The Saints feel comfortable going to Tampa. They did it last year. They won 38-3. They went to Jacksonville this year and won 38-3. Apparently, they like playing in Florida. So I would consider that to be a very winnable game based on what we saw today with a backup quarterback. So the good news, the season itself is in very good shape. If you had asked me before the season, I was always way too optimistic for my own good. Anyway, I put them at 11-5. Maybe I should have said 12-4. Either way, if you had asked anyone before the season, 5-2, are the Saints going to start 5-2? Will you accept that? Will you be happy with a 5-2 start? Hell yes, of course you would. Would you have signed on for 5-2 without your starting quarterback? No, but hey, it's the Saints. That's what happens every year. We get halfway through the season and there's no starting quarterback. What do? Well, the Saints, what 8-1 in games started by someone not the Drew Brees last 2 years. If you include this game, which you could, the Saints are. So if you include the 49ers game and this game over the last 3 seasons, and the Rams game, I'll give you the Rams game. The Saints are 10-2 in games not finished by their starting quarterback over the last 3 seasons. If there's a team in the NFL that can overcome the loss of starting quarterback, we already know who it is. We've seen it. They've done it. So I feel good. I feel good about the Saints. I feel good about where they're going. This defense is, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL. It's at least top 3. The safeties didn't have the greatest game. It was kind of a strange situation. It seemed like they played a lot of cover 0. I don't know how you lose Cyril Grayson there. It looked like Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo got a little mixed up. But it was also a weird look. There was no deep safety on a play from the 50-yard line. You're just begging. You're begging Tom Brady to take a shot there. Maybe that was the plan. Maybe they were thinking, we're going to lock up on the outside and have him take a shot and take it down. But, one way or another, this defense seems to always get it done. And guys like P.J. Williams stepping up. It's a weird season. It's only going to get weirder. But, yeah, that's it from me. I appreciate everyone who jumped in. I got a lot of people watching. I was surprised there was this many people interested at 9 o'clock at night. But hey, here we are. We've officially entered silly season for the Saints. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, WWL Radio Digital Sports producer. You can follow me on Twitter over at Jeff_Nowak. Check out Odyssey.com/WWL for all the latest content. And make sure you check us out on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're not, go search in Google for YouTube WWL Sports. It'll come up. Posting videos, content there daily, and appreciate everyone chimes in, asking questions, all that, and see what happens. Till next week, y'all. Peace.